To watch these important lessons, subscribe to DP Education's YouTube channel right now. Click on the bell icon to stay updated on the latest lessons. Sri Lanka's largest free online school, DP Education.
So my dear children, in the earlier chapter we identified about the green concept, and we got a certain idea how to follow the green concept. And we identified that the green concept is not about the vegetation, it's not focusing about the vegetation, but it is going to focus about the minimization of greenhouse gases and also minimization of global warming. So these are the two practices which we mainly focus in green concept. Okay, so my dear children, at the end of the last chapter, I told you that we are going to focus what are the methods that we can follow in order to minimize the usage of resources. You know that when you are using less amount of resources, the emission of carbon dioxide and also the emission of other greenhouse gases is also going to reduce, because when we are using less amount of resources, right, when we are using less amount of resources, you know that we can, or we are able to release less amount of greenhouse gases, and also release of less amount of greenhouse gases is also going to reduce the global warming. Okay, so my dear children, at the end of the previous chapter, I told you that we are going to focus on how to follow the green concept model in each of the artificial environments. Okay, so now my dear children, within this new chapter, we'll be discussing about those methods which we can follow to minimize the usage of resources. With the minimal usage of resources, how we can follow the green concept model in each and every artificial environments. So first of all, we'll be focusing about agricultural lands. Okay, we'll be focusing about agricultural lands. So within the agricultural lands, my dear children, how to follow the green concept model? Under that, a first and foremost topic given, the organic farming. Okay, organic farming, the production process that promotes the well-being of the agricultural environmental system, microbial activity in soil, biodiversity and biological cycles is called organic farming. So organic farming is very simple, my dear children. Here, the production process that promotes the well-being of the agricultural environmental system, microbial activity in soil, biodiversity and biological cycles is called the organic farming. So organic farming means, in simple, here we are going to promote the well-being of the agricultural environment. Okay, promoting the well-being of the agricultural environment. But how? We are promoting the agricultural environment by the promotion of well-being of microbial activity in the soil. Okay, then by increasing the biodiversity and biological cycles, right? We are increasing the biological cycles of the organisms which are living within the soil. So by doing these things, what we can do the organic farming. Okay, so why does the organic farming is important for us? What is the reason? Why does the organic farming is important? Because my dear children, definitely that will increase our productivity. Not only the productivity, my dear children, it is favorable for our health as well. And also, my dear children, it's going to reduce the emission of carbon dioxide gases and other greenhouse gases to the environment. So by that way, we can reduce the global warming as well. Okay, and also you know that because of using of different kinds of chemicals, right, here they are not mentioning about actually chemical substances should be used. Okay, we have to use these things, we know that we have to use it, but we are going to minimize the usage of that thing. Okay, or else we are using very less amount of chemicals with more amount of organic fertilizer. Okay, however, what we are going to do is we are going to promote the action of soil organisms and we are going to fertile the soil. By that way, we are increasing the well-being of the agricultural environments. So by doing so, right, indirectly, we are going to follow the green concept model, and because of that, emission of greenhouse gases and also global warming is going to reduce. So next point given, use of organic fertilizers can be given as a major aspect of organic farming. So usage of organic fertilizer usage is a major aspect in organic farming. So as the harvest that flourishes by absorbing nutrients from the soil of the cultivated land is removed from it, the soil becomes deficient in nutrition, right? So as the harvest that flourishes by absorbing nutrients from the soil of the cultivated land is removed from it, the soil becomes deficient in nutrients. So you know that when these things, or when the harvest which is being flourished by absorbing nutrients from the soil of the cultivated land is removed, what will happen? The soil is going to denutrient, right? So the soil is going to be denutrient, that means deficient in nutrients, right? So therefore the soil should be supplied with nutrients from outside. It is done by applying fertilizers containing artificially prepared minerals and artificially synthesized chemicals being applied more and more. So usually what we do? Usually farmers, and what we are going to do is, when the harvest is being removed from a certain place, we add more and more chemicals to enhance the nutrients in the soil. So that will enhance the nutrients in the soil, my dear children. But however, by doing so, these chemicals would create certain major problems within the soil organisms and as well as biodiversity of the soil. Okay, so that means what will happen? That means when you are removing the harvest from one to another, you have to add more and more chemicals to the land. So that's not going to be a favorable condition. Because of that, what will happen? More and more you are going to add, right? More and more the soil is getting infertile because of loss of several soil organisms who are living on the ground. So in that case, what will happen? In that case, my dear children, the soil is getting, right? The soil is, we have to provide always, all the time, we have to provide these chemicals to the soil. The soil is getting used to it. So that is a big disadvantage, a very big disadvantage, because my dear children, when the soil is getting used to these chemicals, right, soil is infertile and it is getting used with the chemicals now. Infertile soil is not going to get fertile with itself, right? Soil is waiting for the chemicals to come. So that's why it is very hard to stop, right? That's why it is very hard to stop chemical fertilizers nowadays. Because, my dear children, right, what is the reason? Because the soil has got used to it right now. However, gradually we can minimize the usage of chemical fertilizers. We have to do it gradually, not at a sudden. We won't be able to do it at a sudden, right? If you do it at a sudden, then definitely the harvest is going to reduce. It's going to reduce for sure, right? We have to gradually decrease or gradually reduce the amount of chemical fertilizers that we are going to use. By that way, the soil has the ability to regenerate and become fertile once more. Okay, so we have to give some opportunity to the soil to come back to the initial stage without chemicals, my dear children. So to do that, we have to gradually reduce the usage of chemical fertilizer. Okay, that's the best method to do. So nowadays, my dear children, the countries like Bhutan, Japan are using organic farming very well. what they have done is they have reduced the chemical fertilizers which they are going to use, and they have increased the organic fertilizer. So nowadays, like 20-80, 20% of chemical and 80% of organic. Okay, that's how they are going to farm. And also, my dear children, the other main aspect in here is that when we come into organic farming, insects and other weeds are the main reason. Okay, we won't be able to destroy these things. So these are the main reasons in reduction of harvest. So in the earlier times, now we have added chemicals now. So these weeds and other insects have now adapted to these chemicals. So that means, my dear children, day by day we have to increase the dosage of the chemicals as well in order to destroy these things. Right? In order to destroy these things, day by day we have to provide more and more chemicals. So it's going to be a very tough case when you are destroying these insects and other weeds. Okay. So my dear children, we will face different kinds of problems when we are going to stop the chemical fertilizers. But however, it's very important to do it because that will improve our health too. Okay. And also it will follow the green concept. Okay. However, when we are reducing these things, it's important to reduce these things step by step, not all at once. Okay. If so, then definitely there are going to be huge problems. Lack of harvest, then sometimes if the lack of harvest is going to occur each and every place in the country, then what will happen? Then we will go for a lack of food, like we will starve. So that kind of cases might come across. So it's very important to reduce these things step by step. We have to give some opportunity to the soil so that it will regenerate once again to the original state. Okay, right then. So, but instead of this, organic fertilizers such as compost formed by subjecting plant or animal materials to natural processes can be applied. So, my dear children, as organic fertilizer, what we are going to use is the compost. So by using compost, what we can do is we can enhance the nutrient nature of the soil. But we can do it up to a certain level, my dear children. Unlike the chemical fertilizers, these will take somewhat longer time. Okay, and also the soil should have to get used to it. So my dear children, suddenly we won't be able to do this. But however, it's very important to follow these things. So therefore, step by step, we need to minimize the usage of these chemicals, right? So instead of those chemicals, what we can do is we can create organic fertilizers such as compost, then we can add to the soil. Okay, when we are getting when we are going to get the next harvest, or when we are going to plant the next field. Okay, right. Then here it is given once more. Some facts regarding the importance of use of organic fertilizers rather than the inorganic fertilizers can be listed as follows. So, some important facts, some essential facts or some advantages of using organic fertilizer over inorganic is given in the list here. Let's see. Application of inorganic fertilizers destroy many microorganisms and macroorganisms such as earthworms, which are helpful for the crop. It affects the existence of natural environment badly. So you know that, my dear children, our earth or our soil has soil organisms like earthworms, different kinds of insects and also different kinds of microbes. So when you add chemicals day by day and when you increase the chemical concentration day by day which is being added to the soil, what will happen? It will directly affect the existence of these organisms. These chemicals will directly harm their nervous system and in other systems, and also they will get destroyed because of that. These things are poison, no? These things are poison, right? They are poisonous substances. So what will happen? because of adding these chemicals, these organisms, soil organisms are getting destroyed. So upon destroying soil organisms, what will happen? The soil will definitely get infertile. So in order to get it fertile, we have to add chemical fertilizer once more. Okay, that is what has happened right now. So day by day we are using chemicals. So day by day the amount of organisms, soil organisms in the soil is going to destroy. So we have to add more and more chemical substances or chemical fertilizers to enhance the fertile nature of the soil. So this is like a cycle, my dear children. It's going to keep on going forever. So we have to break this cycle, right? So how to break this cycle? Not all at once, but one step at a time. Okay, right then. So excessive application of inorganic fertilizer affects human health through plant products. So what are these heavy metals, my dear children? Heavy metals, right? Heavy metals. Heavy metals means metals that has a very high density, like mercury. So mercury, you know, mercury has a very high density. When we are doing the lesson density, I think you could remember the densest liquid that we come across is mercury. Density is like 13,600 kilograms per cubic meter. So when the density is high, these particles, these metal particles will travel towards the end or at the very bottom of a certain surface or certain any kind of a surface, okay, or any kind of a material. It will go to the very bottom because it is very dense. So at the very bottom, it will get deposit. Then what will happen? Now let's imagine that plant. There is a plant. So we add mercury based substance. So mercury is getting absorbed by the plants now. So they are getting deposited within the very base or at the very end. So now when we are consuming these things, right? Now let's imagine that we are going to consume these things. Okay, that means a fruit or else a vegetable or any kind of a thing, we are consuming it. So when we are consuming it, these mercury particles will definitely go to our bloodstreams and they will get deposited in your liver or else in kidney. Then kidneys and livers will get damaged for sure. Especially in kidneys, my dear children. There is a disease called kidney disease. Okay, kidney failures. So kidney diseases, kidney failures are mainly going to happen because of the heavy metals. So these heavy metals, these particles are going to trap inside the nephrons, and these particles which are trapped within the nephrons is going to create a certain kind of a like when you take our kidney, the main process of kidney is filtration of blood. So this filtration will be affected and these filtrations will be blocked because of these heavy metal particles. So because of that, kidney failures can occur. So severe kinds of health problems will occur because of using, right? Because of using heavy metals, right? Fertilizers with heavy metals, my dear children. So today, up to now, we don't know whether there are any heavy metals contained within these chemicals. But however, even though it is not being proved, there is a vast probability to have these kinds of chemicals within the inorganic fertilizers. Okay, so it's very important to reduce the consumption of these inorganic fertilizers, my dear children, because it will not harm the environment, but also it will harm our health too. Okay, so what will happen? It will enter to the human body, giving rise to unfavorable effects. So what are the unfavorable effects? Like kidney diseases, organ failures, and so on. Okay, right. Then the next one. Organic fertilizers add nutrients falling within a wide range, whereas inorganic fertilizers can provide only a few nutrients such as nitrogen, phosphorus, potassium, and sulfur. Organic fertilizers add nutrients falling within a wide range, whereas inorganic fertilizers can provide only few nutrients such as nitrogen, phosphorus, potassium and sulfur. The other important thing is that, my dear children, when you add organic fertilizer to a farm, what will happen? It will provide different kinds of elements and different other kinds of needed fertilizers to the soil. Okay, so by that way there is a vast and a wide range, right? There's a vast and a wide range. But my dear children, when you add inorganic fertilizer, then what will happen? Those things will not contain like that much of a wide range. There will not be any other different kinds of elements. Okay, so these chemicals are made only with essential elements. Like what? Like nitrogen, phosphorus, potassium and sulfur. But however, my dear children, when adding organic fertilizer, other than these essential ones, there can be a wide range of other elements too, which are helpful for the growth of plants. Next one, large amount of money needed not to be spent for organic fertilizers. So large amount of money need not to be spent for organic fertilizers. Fertilizers can be produced ourselves using refuse such as straw, plant debris, chaff and sawdust. Then the other main important thing, what is that? You know that when we are buying inorganic fertilizers, we have to pay money. Definitely we have to pay money. Therefore, the economical loss is going to be very high when buying inorganic fertilizer or chemical fertilizer. And the other thing is that with the inflation, right, day by day, these chemical fertilizers, right, their prices are going to be very high. So these will create severe kinds of economical losses. So my dear children, in the early chapter I told you that usage of more and more money, usage of more and more resources means, in that case, the sustainability is going to be very less. Okay, that means more amount of carbon dioxide and other gases are going to emit, not directly but indirectly. Okay, so it's very important to minimize the amount of resources, and also we have to cut the expenditures. Okay, so by using organic fertilizers, we can cut the expenditure. We can prepare our own fertilizers with a minimum cost, or else no cost actually. Here to make compost, what you need is very simple materials, very few simple materials like sawdust, then decayed plant and animal materials, okay, waste vegetables and fruits, then human fecal materials also can be used. So like that way, my dear children, you will be needing only waste materials which are organic. Organic means which is being prepared within the bodies of plants and animals. That's it. Okay, so by the decomposition of these substances, we can create organic fertilizer. These organic fertilizer can be produced with a minimum cost. When the cost is going to reduce, definitely it will follow the green concept. Okay, right then. So these are some unfavorable conditions or unfavorable effects of using inorganic fertilizers, right, when compared to organic fertilizer. Right then. So my dear children, the next two important facts. Let's see. There is a greater demand for rice, vegetables, fruits and leafy vegetables obtained from organic farming among the discerning people in Sri Lanka. Therefore, farmers growing them as well as the traders who sell them can have a higher income. Then the next thing, my dear children. I think sometimes you have been wandering around here and there in a supermarket. You might have seen that there is a certain symbol. There can be wrapped vegetables, and over there are certain symbols that organic, 100% organic. Like that way, there are some certain symbols and stickers. It's because specially they are mentioning that these things are made only by using organic fertilizer. Why is that? Because, my dear children, now the people who are living in Sri Lanka, not only in Sri Lanka but in each and every country right now, these people these people are using, or they would like to use, organic fertilizers. Okay, the fruits and vegetables which are made by organic fertilizers. So therefore, vendors and the sellers, all the ones, okay, those guys are printing that marks and stickers in order to show that for their customers that this plant or this item is made 100% from organic farming. So by giving that certain idea, okay, my dear children, what will happen? The ones or the customers who have a certain interest about the organic farming will come and definitely buy these products. So these are somewhat priced at a higher rate rather than the normal ones. Okay, it's because that these things are very healthy and it also somewhat different than the other ones, right? So therefore these are somewhat priced at a higher level. So therefore, my dear children, what will happen? The farmers and the sellers will have a good income by selling these products. Okay, then the next one, the structure of the soil will be improved with the time by using organic fertilizer. Then the other thing is, my dear children, when using organic fertilizer, what will happen? The structure of the soil will be improved with the time, and also it will helpful for the activity of soil organism as well, right? That's what do you mean by improving the structure, right? It will help for the action of microorganisms and as well as for the other organisms, other soil organisms which are living within the soil. Okay, and also, my dear children, these organic fertilizers are favorable for those animals and organisms. So therefore, their colonies are getting developed day by day. So that will increase the fertility of the soil as well from day by day. Okay, so even though the harvest is being removed, even though it is being removed, the soil is not getting infertile. The fertility nature will remain the same because of the action of soil organisms and also because of the action of microorganisms who are living within the soil. Okay, so it's very important to use these organic fertilizers over inorganic. But however, my dear children, we won't be able to do it at once. Gradually, by step, we have to follow these. Okay, right then. Another factor of organic farming is the use of traditional agricultural practices for pest control. The pesticides used at present are highly poisonous chemicals that are synthesized artificially. Weedicides, insecticides, and fungicides belong to them. Use of these pesticides causes inestimable environmental degradation, and it can be prevented by employing traditional agricultural practices. Right, so the pesticide used at the present are highly poisonous chemicals that are synthesized artificially. Right, so what is the meaning of that? The things that we use, the chemical fertilizers or the not only chemical fertilizers, these pesticides, weedicides and fungicides, all of these things are synthetically made, chemically produced. So these contains different poisonous substances. Okay, so when adding these poisonous substances, it will cause inestimable environmental degradation, and it can be prevented by employing traditional agricultural practices. So my dear children, in the earlier times we haven't had any of these chemicals. However, we did the farming. Okay, we did the agricultural purposes. But however, we haven't had these kinds of chemicals in the earlier times, like in the ancient time. But people did their agricultural lands without any trouble. It's mainly because they have used traditional practices and traditional methods in controlling these pests. Okay, so by using these traditional methods in controlling fungi, insects and weeds, then also we can improve the quality of the soil, and as well as we can improve the quality of products which we are going to produce within the agricultural lands. Then these may be biological methods, mechanical methods, or religious rituals. So these things can be any type. It can be biological ones, mechanical ones, or sometimes rituals. Okay, some special rituals. No matter what, okay, no matter whatever the method, if the necessary objective is being met, right, then the method which we are going to use is irrelevant, no? So no matter whatever the way, if our necessity is being met, then that's the thing that we need. Okay, so no matter whether it is mechanical, religious or biological, our aim is to reduce the pests which are going to harm the agricultural lands. Okay, so by using several traditional methods, we can avoid these things, right? So some traditional agricultural practices used for pest control are given below. Now we are going to focus about, my dear children, what are the traditional agricultural practices that we can do to manage our agricultural lands. Okay, spread other organisms that destroy eggs and larvae of pests. You know that different kinds of pests are getting generated. Mainly these things are insects, So therefore, my dear children, insects are generated from larvae and also from eggs. So here we can, we can spread different other kinds of organisms that will not harm the product or the agricultural land, but however, these organisms are going to feed on those kinds of insects. Good example is fish. In Japan, my dear children, like when you take the drainage systems in paddy fields, they have spread koi fish. Okay, this is, in our terms, these things are called as carp fish. Okay, so carp fish is going to feed on different kinds of insects. So it will help to control the insects within a paddy field. And also the other thing is that the waste materials removed from the fish is also going to fertile the paddy field. Okay, so therefore, like spreading koi fish around a paddy field in a Japanese paddy field is a common observation in Japan, right? Then the next one, control pest using insect repelling substances, Dahaspetia flowers, juice of neem seeds, plants of citrus family. So the next one would be controlling pest using insect repelling substances. So there are some certain types of leaves and plants and flowers. They're going to give out a certain, like a tough scent. So because of this scent, organisms, especially insects, will not come around near the agricultural lands, my dear children. Examples are given: Dahaspetia flower, that yellow or like orange kind of a flower that has a very good scent. Then we can use the juice of neem seeds and also citrus plant family, citrus plants that is in the family of citrus, right? Especially we can use citrus plants like lemon, lime. Okay, these leaves can be crushed and we can spread here and there. So the smell of these things will repel the insects, my dear children. Okay, next one, water management. Restrict water or excess water to control pest. So we can do the water management, my dear children. That means here we are going to reduce water, or else we are going to increase water so that they would dry, so that they would drown and die, or else they would die because of lack of water, right? Water management then. Next one. In order to protect the cultivated land, right? In order to protect the cultivated land from harmful insects, an oil lamp is lighted in the land at night. Then the insects attracted to the flame are caught by it and die. Hence, this is known as a light trap. So, another remedy is that, my dear children, in the ancient times, a lighted lamp is being placed within the fields. Then what will happen? The insects are much attracted towards the light. I think you have seen these things at your home also, my dear children. When you take these insects are much attracted towards the flames. So near a flame we can observe, or near a flame means actually not only a flame, near a light we can clearly observe different kinds of insects which are getting attracted towards to it. So what will happen if you put a flame near a paddy field? Then what will happen? Paddy field or any other field, agricultural land. Then what will happen? All the insects who are living within the land will come towards the flame and they will die because of the fire. So by that way we can control pest conditions up to a certain extent. Okay. Next one. After sowing seed paddy in a paddy field, a diaholmana is made below the vakkada overflow to protect them from birds. Because of the sound it produces, the birds fly away. Alright. Now this is another structure which is called as diaholmana, made below the vakkada. Okay. So from that a sound is getting produced. Because of that, my dear children, what will happen? The birds will fly away because of the heavy sound. Okay, right. To protect paddy in a paddy field from mice, sticks each tied with a coconut husk are planted in several places in the paddy fields. Then the birds such as owl perch on them and hunt the mice. So you know that when you take a paddy field, my dear children, the other issue is from mice. So different kinds of mice are going to live within the paddy fields, and also, my dear children, because of having these mice, what will happen? These will attract serpents like cobra and pythons as well. Okay, so it's going to be very harmful. Right? It's going to be very harmful for the people who are wandering here and there. So to avoid that, they have created, or ancient people have created, some structure with sticks, and they have placed a coconut husk. Then birds like owls are going to perch on these, and they are going to hunt for mice. Okay, so by that way, that pest problem is also can be resolved. Right, so these are the traditional methods where we can use, right, where we can use to control the pest conditions, my dear children. Okay, right. So you are given with an assignment then. Collect information from the traditional agricultural practices used for pest control, either by consulting elders or electronic or print media, and prepare a booklet. So within this assignment, my dear children, you have to prepare a booklet. Okay, you have to find out even more details regarding pest control methods. However, these methods should be traditional methods, my dear children. So you have to find out traditional methods of pest control, right? So we have discussed several traditional methods of pest control over there. Right, there are even more methods as well. Okay, like adding ash. Okay, by adding ash, you know that ash has a basic nature, so sometimes by adding ash we can destroy different kinds of organisms who are living, or insects who are living on the plants, and also microorganisms too. Okay, then by adding lime also we can do the same thing. Okay, so these things are somewhat related to the earlier processes that we have discussed. So like that you have to find out different cases or different methods, traditional methods, where you have been identified in the earlier chapter, or you can find out by using printed media, or else you can ask it from your elders also, right? If you have grandmothers, grandfathers, then you can visit those guys and you can ask from those guys whether what are the special methods to what are the special traditional methods that we can follow to control the pests in agricultural lands. They have a sound knowledge of those things. Okay, ancient people have sound knowledge of those things, my dear children, right? So I hope that you will follow up the assignment and you will do it at home. Okay, right, my dear children. Then, as the side effect of present day agricultural practices carried out neglecting the traditional knowledge descended for long about farming in Sri Lankan society, and without modern scientific knowledge, farmers have to face tragedies like chronic kidney disease, CKD. Now, I told you about this disease. Can you remember? So, chronic kidney disease, CKD, right, is a kind of a disease which can be identified in the Rajarata region of Sri Lanka, mainly in that region, my dear children. Okay, so this there is a reason. There is no actually an exact reason. There is no actually an exact reason, but however, scientists and other researchers, they suggest that excessive usage of chemical fertilizers and other kinds of chemicals is the main reason for having CKD. Okay, however, those things are not being proved yet. There is a research going on still. Okay, and there can be a higher probability in getting CKD for the people who are using different kinds of chemical substances and chemical fertilizers. Okay, there is a higher probability in getting that CKD. So in CKD, my dear children, or the chronic kidney disease, here the action of the kidney or the filtration of the kidney, right, blood filtration process of the kidney is getting harmed from day by day. Okay, it's mainly because of the heavy metals. Okay, so and there are some other reasons as well, mainly because of the heavy metals. So there is no certain evidence to show that heavy metals are getting entered to the soil by these chemicals or any other different kinds of artificial fertilizers. But however, researchers are still going to find out these things. Okay, however, we have up to now found out that there is a higher probability in getting these diseases, CKD like diseases, if the farmers are using different kinds of chemical fertilizers and other chemical pesticides and weedicides or any other chemicals. Okay, so when a person gets CKD, my dear children, what will happen? Their health is getting deteriorated day by day. He will not be able to get food, because food is now being neglected. I mean, like, he or she would hate food, okay, because of that illness. And the other thing is that, my dear children, they won't be able to walk. Their ankles, knees will get swollen because of the accumulation of bad substances or heavy amount of excretory substances within the blood, because all the excretory substances contained within the blood, poisonous substances contained within the blood, is getting filtered by the kidney and getting removed as urine. So due to accumulation of these excretory substances within the blood, what will happen? Their body is going to swell. So by that day, they won't be able to walk here and there. And when the condition is going to come worse, what will happen? A suitable donor should be found, and the different kidney should be transplanted to the patient. Or else, my dear children, there is another way. we have to do a process called dialysis. So within the dialysis, by connecting the human body to a certain machine, the process carried out by the kidneys is going to conduct artificially by that particular machine. So that process is referred as the dialysis, the blood filtration. Okay, blood filtration by using a machine, dialysis. However, my dear children, this dialysis process, now this process is a very tough process and a painful one. So if the kidney is going to fail, like totally if it is going to fail, then the process of dialysis should done like between 2 to 3 days interval, sometimes like a weekly interval. So that is going to be a very painful process. And the other thing is that it's going to cost lots of amount of money as well. Okay, so these are the complications that can occur within the CKD. Okay, so by doing dialysis, my dear children, we won't be able to, or else a person who is suffering from CKD will not be able to survive for a long time. The best thing to do is transplanting a different kidney from a suitable donor. However, that will also cost huge amount of money, right? So these are several complications that are getting created mainly because of usage of different kinds of chemical substances. So it's very important to reduce the amount of these chemical substances when we are doing agricultural lands. Right then, next one given. In addition to that, diseases such as dermatitis and neurodiseases are common. So in addition to CKD, my dear children, diseases such as dermatitis and neurodiseases are common. So neurodiseases and dermatitis, those are also common among people who are using these kinds of chemicals and fertilizers, especially among farmers, my dear children. Okay, especially among farmers, we can observe these kinds of diseases. Right, my dear children. Now let's head on to see what are the other contents. So an important topic, right? So we discussed about the organic farming and how to minimize the usage of inorganic fertilizers and weedicides and other fungicides, which are commonly referred as pesticides, my dear children. So other than that, we are going to discuss the second main important topic under the management of agricultural lands. So this is regarding the water management. Okay, right, the water management then. Let us not drain even a single drop of water falling from the sky into the sea without being used. Declared so in the past by King Parakramabahu the Great was the importance of water management. So I think you have heard about this thing. Let us not drain even a single drop of water falling from the sky into the sea without being used. So that point specially says that we have to consume, we have to utilize each and every drop of water which is falling from the sky. Okay, so this sentence was declared by the great King Parakramabahu. Okay, so that shows the importance of water, how water is pretty much important for our survival. Okay, so the ancient people had that idea, my dear children, the importance of water. So they have managed the water system very well in order to produce different agricultural crops, especially paddy. So now we are going to observe how or what is the way of managing water according to the green concept. Right then, we are the one and only nation that did an environment friendly water management for agriculture from the past. Tanks, dams and irrigation canals, which give supreme contribution to sustain lives of millions of people from thousands of years back to date, are magnificent examples for rainwater conservation. So we are the one and only nation that did environment friendly management for the agriculture from the past. So from the past, my dear children, we did a magnificent, right? That means we did like a marvelous thing in controlling or in managing the water systems. We are the only country from the past that did the environmental favorable water management system. So tanks, dams, and irrigation canals were canals which give supreme contribution to sustain lives of millions of people from 1,000 years back. 1,000 years back to date are magnificent examples for rainwater conservation. So you know that there are like thousands of canals and streams and tanks all around the Sri Lanka. Most of those were built by ancient kings in order to conserve rainwater. So our country has a supreme area, right, of these water conserving resources, especially tanks and other streams. Okay, so within the figure you can observe the Parakrama Samudra, which is considered as a tank, or else in our terms weber. So within this figure you can observe the major parts of a tank. The main canal which is coming, and by trapping the water of the main canal, a tank is being built. So this is the head wall. Head wall is the area which acts as the water catchment area, my dear children. Okay, then this is the outspill, then the sluice gate, then Bisokotuwa, Ralapanawa, like that way different kinds of parts can be observed within a river. Okay, so it's important to know functions of each of these parts, my dear children. Okay, so like I said, the head wall, it is acting as a catchment area, right? It is acting as a catchment area for the river. Then, my dear children, the tank bund, it is the one which is going to firmly hold the water, the tank bund. Okay, then the Bisokotu and the sluice gate. So Bisokotu helps in transporting or else in releasing water with a low pressure. Otherwise the tank bund will get hurt or it will get damaged. So therefore the Bisokotu and the sluice gate helps to lower the water or to flow down the water at a lower pressure. Then, my dear children, the Ralapanawa helps to avoid the soil erosion on the tank bund. Okay, these things are created like, you know, like a staircase. So these staircase like structures helps in avoiding or else in reducing the soil erosion caused to the tank bund. Okay, right. So these are the special uses of each of these parts contained within a tank, my dear children, or in our terms weber. Right. So this weber or else tanks is a wonderful creation in which can hold the rainwater. Okay, which helps to hold the rainwater. So within Sri Lanka we can observe several and different kinds of these tanks. Right then. So a reservoir of water made by erecting a dam across a river, stream, or a tributary of them with the aim of irrigating for farming an area which is short of water supply is used in earlier times. So here, my dear children, a weber is created by creation of a dam across a stream or else across a river. So why do we need to do that? Because to supply water to a place that has less supply of water, or else in the dry season, right, to provide necessary amount of water, this tank or this water structure is being made, this reservoir is being made. Okay, So the reservoir is being made by, or this tank is being made by erecting a dam across a river or else a stream, which is called as Oya. Okay. So main aim is to store water for farming process. Okay, for farming process, the main aim is to store water. Then low level areas in large flat areas are made into tank systems where rainwater got stored. These tanks are connected where rainwater get collected and flow into nearby tanks. Now what has happened? Low level areas in large flat areas are made into tank systems where rainwater got stored. So low and flat, okay, not only low, they should be flat. So low and flat areas in certain environments, my dear children, they have got converted into tank systems. Okay, so these areas act as water storing agents or water storing areas. So these tanks are connected where rainwater get collected and flow into nearby tanks. So these tanks are connected where rainwater is get collected and flow into nearby tanks. So these areas are the ones which are going to act as water collecting centers. So collected water is being flown into several tanks nearby. Okay. Next one. The stored water is used in dry zones during whole year. A tank is a system full of green concept. This is confirmed by considering the components of a common plan of a tank. So like I said, my dear children, in the earlier example, can you see in the earlier slide, like over here in the earlier example, you can observe how it is being made. It's been made to capture each and every drop of rainwater. Okay, so this is a wonderful system that carries the green concept. Okay, so each and every component contained within the tank also contribute to conserve water. So ancient people, even though those people did not know about this green concept or any other scientifically advanced methods to control environment pollution, those people followed environmental friendly methods, my dear children, right? That's why even in the ancient time, our Sri Lanka was self-sufficient. Okay, right. So remember, the stored water in dry zones during the whole year, right? So this water was used in the dry zones during the whole year. So this water which was stored, right, within a tank used during the whole year in the dry season. A tank is a system full of green concept, and this is confirmed by considering the components of a common plan of a tank. So like I said, my dear children, by looking at the common components in a tank, we can identify that this area or this particular tank is a good example for a green concept model. Okay, right then. Next one. So what are the other things, other measures which we can take? So the first and foremost thing is given, the collection of rainwater. So under the water management system, by using the tanks, we can manage water up to a certain levels. Now we are going to discuss how we can manage water, right, by other methods. Number one is given, what? Collecting rainwater. As an individual person, there are courses of action which we can take to conserve rainwater. One such measure is utilizing rainwater falling on the roof of houses and other buildings during drought. So my dear children, during drought season, you know that, okay, we're going to lack water. So to fight against the drought season, we can do a remedy. That is, my dear children, collecting rainwater. If we can collect rainwater, right, then we can utilize this rainwater, collected rainwater, for several purposes, especially for our agricultural lands. We can use this rainwater which has been collected, and not also for that, but we can use this water for different other kinds of sanitary purposes and as well as cleaning purposes and so on. Okay, so even for drinking, my dear children, this rainwater can be collected. You know that we can boil this water up to a certain temperature, and by adding some amount of disinfectants, we can consume this water without any trouble. Okay, so collecting rainwater is an important factor, right? It is an important factor when we consider about the droughts, to fight against the drought seasons. Especially these things are being followed by people in the dry zones. Okay, right. So the next one is given drip irrigation. Drip irrigation. Let's see. This is the most efficient micro irrigation method used at present. In this, lateral pipes are connected to main pipeline from the water source, are laid closer to root system of every crop plant. Water drips in the form of droplets from small devices called emitters in these pipes. Since water seeps only to the root system, water is not wasted and the growth of the weeds is controlled. Right. So you can observe there is a tube running from here, from this end to the other end over there, within this drip irrigation model. Here, my dear children, it is saying that this is the most efficient micro irrigation method used at the present. So at present we use this thing as a micro irrigation method, the best method. So in the here, what they have done is they have used lateral pipes connected to a main pipeline from the water source, right? And these are laid closer to the root system of every crop plant. So these are laid closer to the root system, very much near to the root system, my dear children. Water drips in the form of droplets from small devices called emitters in these pipes. Now there are small devices which are referred as emitters within these pipes, my dear children. So these emitters are somewhat closer to the root system of the plant. So what will happen? These emitters will emit water in the form of droplets, especially towards the root system of the plant. Okay. So by that way, what will happen? The need of water is getting reduced. And the other special thing is that what? Here the water seeps only to the root system. Water is going to seep only to the root system. And water is not wasted. Water is not going to waste at all. And also, because water is only seeped into the root system, the external environment or the outer surface is not getting wet. So therefore, my dear children, growth of weeds are also controlled, right? Weeds also controlled by this method. So this is referred as the drip irrigation, right? A wonderful method that we practice in our day-to-day life, not us but agricultural owners, agricultural landowners, okay, or farmers. So these guys use these kind of pipelines, and the pipeline has special structures called emitters. These emitters are directly connected to the root system of each and every plant. So the emitters are going to release water in the droplet form. So by that way, what will happen, right? Very less amount of water is being given to the plant, and also that less is enough because it is straightly given to the root system of the plant. Okay. So because of lack of water to the outer surfaces, growth of the weeds also controlled, right? So this is the one which is called as the drip irrigation. So within here, this figure, you can observe a device set up in a house to collect the rainwater. So here you can observe it's a pipeline which is coming towards the roof of the house. So when raindrops are going to fall down from the gutters, through the pipelines, the water will come and collected to this tank. So this water which is getting collected can be used for several purposes, especially for our cleaning purposes and other sanitary purposes. And also if there is heavy amount of water, then we can use this water for our agricultural lands as well. Okay, right, my dear children. So we discussed several instances where we can save or manage water. Okay. So in the next chapter, we'll discuss even more things related to the artificial environment and the green concept lesson part.
To watch these important lessons, subscribe to DP Education's YouTube channel right now. Click on the bell icon to stay updated on the latest lessons. Sri Lanka's largest free online school, DP Education.